All right, we're back with part two of talking to three of the world's top pipe band drummers, leading drummers. Steven McWhirter, lead drummer of Inveraray District, the reigning world champions. Jake Jørgensen, who is leading drummer of ScottishPower, Grade 1 in Scotland. And Eric MacNeill of the Grade 1 city of Dunedin out of Florida. Thanks a lot, guys, for taking the time again. So we thought we'd talk about maybe the last part. We talked about what's been going on for the last year. Maybe now we're kind of in this area of it might happen, might not happen, could maybe. So a lot of doubt, at least in the northern hemisphere, where the pandemic is still kind of a big problem. So what's your plan, if you have one, for getting the Corps back in competing shape? Being ready to sort of take on a major championship or the big competitions, the first one out there. Eric, do you have a plan for that?
Well, it seems to be ever evolving and ever adjusting, and kind of learned that still in a position where we're just taking it one day at a time and 1 week at a time. I think a year ago we all felt like by this point we would be beyond this. At least I did. I thought that going into the new year that we would be beyond this and looking forward to a much more normal 2021 competition season. And it just seems like that still, as every week seems to pass, that looks grim. We've just canceled the Dunedin games down here, and we were at one point planning to play at the Fort Lauderdale games in early March, and that's of course had to cancel as well. So I think it's hard. I think we will, for everybody to really get back full steam, that's going to take some sort of announcement that something is going to happen. I think people are going to be looking for, okay, right, I finally have to start practicing regularly and get all this music back in my head and going in my hands, because we're going to go do X, Y, and Z. And for us, pretty much any competition that we're going to involve in, we're going to play at, involves airplane tickets, a lot of airplane tickets and a lot of travel. So it's a serious commitment of not just the time to get together to rehearse, but time to buy plane tickets and make hotel arrangements or accommodation, whatever that is, to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, a lot of complicating factors. It's one thing saying yes, this competition is going to take place, but the things around it, concerns about quarantine, travel, money, time off work, concerns like that. Steven, what about your perspective? A game plan for getting everybody back into playing shape. What are your thoughts around that?
2 full winters, bro. I would say we would need a full winter if we wanted to play to any kind of standard close to where we were. I would say we would need to go back to a full winter. But that being said, I think everybody will be so glad to get back doing it that they'll be quite happy to sacrifice some of the quality that we had in 2019 to just get back to seeing people again and socializing and playing good music and generally just doing what we do in the pipe band world. So yeah, I don't know. I think, as I said before, I think I'll just take a concrete decision. It's crazy that, when you think about what Eric said, about plane tickets and hotels and buses, you think about all those things and how far away that seems to be right now. It seems a long way in the distance. Mm-hmm. I listened to, on my walk today, I listened to the old SFG album, current Alive in America, and the crowd in that were amazing. It was so good to hear a live audience, And I thought to myself, wow, like how long is it going to be before we get that again? Like that's the buzz that you play for more than anything else. So yeah, I don't know the answer.
Yeah. And I guess there's no guarantee that there's going to be a big crowd. You know, you might be able to hold an event, but it might be a controlled crowd with numbers. Just want to touch on, Jake, that idea of playing to a standard. You personally, would you be okay with everybody saying, okay, let's just get out there and get this thing restarted, knowing that you're capable of playing a lot better, and the competition, your other contestants would be too. Is that an acceptable thing for a grade 1 band playing at such an elite level, just to say, yep, I'm cool with the standard not quite being there?
Yeah, I think there's probably going to be varying opinions on that one. Personally, I know that I would like to get back to playing, but not at any cost. I wouldn't like to go out and with too short a window for preparation and just go out and not feel good about playing, because I don't think I would feel good about playing if it wasn't to maybe not the same standard as it was at the end of before all this kicked off, but I would want to be close, to feel good about it. I think I would find that quite hard. I think that's just my personality. I guess I'm maybe quite hard on myself that way.
Well, I think it's a thing that athletes go through all the time as well. When you're competing, when you know how well you can do, you want to be able to go deliver it. It's just an important thing. And if someone's injured, they would, take themselves off the pitch or whatever. If they can't play their capability.
In terms of a game plan, I'm not really. I think that's quite hard, really, to have a plan. I think at this point, if you end up with a month or two of preparation time before the season would kick off, or maybe a part season, you might get up to a decent standard. You wouldn't be at your full. You wouldn't be firing on all engines, I don't think. I think Steven is quite right. It would probably take a full winter to get up to full capacity.
So when you talk,
I mean, I wasn't.
Go ahead.
I wasn't meaning that we would be happy to play at a lesser standard necessarily, but I think generally speaking, the pipe band world would be happy just to be back out doing what we do. Maybe the grade 1 bands would miss that level of quality playing. Certainly I would miss it, but I would be happier to be back doing it than not doing it and wondering when I'm going to be able to do it again. Knowing that once you get the ball rolling, the next year is going to be better inevitably, just through time and I don't think it's like flicking a switch either. Sorry, I don't think it's like flicking a switch either. I think if they turned around and said, right, the Worlds is on the 8th of August, people would be like, right, let's go. I think a lot of people would get back to it again, but I think there were a lot of people struggle to get back into that routine of, leaving the house in the dark in the rain in the middle of February or March. It's a hard routine to get back into. So I think some people you'll have to pull along to get them back in, and once they are in, they'll be good. But it's it'll not be instantaneous. Put it that way.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, I think Steven's got an interesting point there, where as the longer this goes on, and people spend more and more time with their lives not involving going to band regularly, and not involving going to Highland Games regularly, and making that commitment, people's day-to-day lives are continuing to go forward, whether it's their job or their family or whatever is going on. And so I think, initially it seemed like, oh, just a couple of months, and now it's a year and maybe more. I think it's going to be, I think there's going to be challenges, and all bands everywhere are going to go through that, trying to figure out how to sort of restart, and get people back engaged, or deal with those who, inevitably decide, that's me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now we've been kind of talking from a grade one sort of elite band perspective, which is great. It applies to everybody. But you three are unique in that you do work with younger bands in schools. All three of you are you do that as a living. Would you give the same advice to the younger bands, the juvenile bands, novice juvenile, whatever grade they might be, to get back at it? Is it more about participation for those bands?
I think I think for kids bands, they just need to get out there as soon as possible, really, and get out and enjoy it and be part of it. They're really missing out at the moment. And I see that for the kids at school. It's plain and obvious. There's not enough going on for them. I do my best, and we do our best at the school to try and obviously motivate them. And at the moment, we're all teaching remotely, teaching from home, and I'm working really hard to try and motivate them at the moment. But you can tell it's a shame that there's been a whole set of leavers from the school last year who didn't get their final season with the band, and they've maybe played with the band for 10 years or so. And that, I think that was a real shame. This year, I might have someone who's in his first year as leading drummer and never actually getting the opportunity to play as a leading drummer because of the pandemic. And again, there's kind of big achievements there just being missed. Those are single achievements, but for the whole band, it's obviously a huge shame, and kids are the ones most affected by this.
Yeah, that is an awful shame, even at all levels, where people might have thought this is their final year, or last year would have been their final year, and they kind of go out not with a bang, but it kind of just fade away. Not a great thing. Stephen, just pick up that thread about teaching in younger bands. You have the same school of thought. Just get out there and play and participate.
Absolutely, yeah. That's all the kids need to do. I think the quality's irrelevant at this point, because a lot of kids in school bands do it because their friends do it. They don't necessarily do it because they want to win the worlds, or they want to be the best piper or drummer in the world. They do it because their pals do it, and I think they miss the social aspect of it as well. I mean, they all have their lessons, they turn up for their lessons every week, but there's definitely a lack of enthusiasm that they normally would have, knowing that they're playing the Gallady in 2 weeks time, or they've got sports day coming up, or Scottish Championships, or whatever. Their calendars are usually so full that they just go from one event to the next, and when they don't have that, they think, what's the point? So it has been difficult to motivate them, but on the upside of that, I would say from a teacher's perspective, I've definitely had more time to work on things with the kids that I normally wouldn't get the time to work on. Spend a little bit longer developing them, and like some of the basics more than you would. You don't feel as many time restraints or pressure to get them ready for the 18th of May. They have to play that. It's like, right, okay, you don't have it memorized, that's okay. Let's figure out how we can get you to do that faster without dragging them along. I think they're kind of learning at their own speed a little bit more now than what they normally do. I don't know if you other guys find that, but
yeah. Eric, maybe, that whole system in Dunedin, you've got a small town that it seems like everyone plays the pipes or pipe and drums. What are you experiencing? You finding more time to work with people?
Yes, which has been really, really cool. The kids are definitely normally they're pretty active within the community, going out and doing some fundraising things and just performances throughout the year. And of course, none of that is happening. And I agree. They're just dying to get out and be able to do something. And we're kind of hoping that by May, just before the end of the school year, that there might be the opportunity to do something outside a park or something, some performance opportunity to be able to target. Don't know, but we're hoping for that. And I know the kids are kind of hoping for that, just to get out and be able to do something. I've had a few students at the high school who were seniors this year, who I was kind of at one point counting on being in sort of a leadership position, and they have kind of walked away from it during the first couple of months back in the fall, which I found a little bit disappointing. But they were just kind of like, they didn't see anything coming from the year, and were focused on sort of getting out of high school and what they were doing next. And so at the high school band program, it's left with more younger players, which means hopefully in a few years' time, it'll be a really strong high school program there. But it's a little bit unfortunate to see some of the older kids just like, okay, well, this is obviously feel like it's a dead end for them this year because there's nothing going on. So, tough.
Yeah. I just wanted to touch on just a little bit the idea of, when bands do come back to it and might not be as sharp as they normally are. Do you think that'll mean, more of an emphasis on the musical side of it and less about the kind of clinical precision, tuning, tone, unison, judges maybe leaning more towards the performances that moved them rather than thrilled them with precision. Steven, maybe any thoughts around that?
I hope so. I hope so. It's always my hope that they'll find the music in it. Hopefully, it makes bands. It might not cause people to see the music in it more than the precision, but hopefully this pandemic and the time away has generated a bit of creativity with bands, and they've given a bit more thought to thinking outside the box musically. I would certainly like to see that, but whether it does or not remains to be seen. And I think it depends what band you play in as well. I think, if you're playing an FM, Richard Parks will always want precision sound because that's his thing. And he's so good at it. So I don't think he'll accept anything less than. So I think it'll be individual to the band. Some will just be glad to be out and playing and playing tunes, and others will be highly competitive as always.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Maybe there's a chance. We've talked a little bit about during the pandemic, people cut other people a lot more slack. It's okay. It's like, you might not be, on the top of your game, whatever it might be, at work or family or friends, or, everyone's struggling. So maybe could there be a chance when judges kind of cut drum corps a bit of slack? So Jake, like if drumming judges are used to waiting for, a mistake, rather than listening to the thing as a whole, do you think there's a chance they'll be cutting bands a bit of slack when it comes to all that precision? And technical side of it?
Yeah, maybe. I would like to think that judges would take it for what it is. You know, no matter what kind of preparation window we've had going into a season, and no matter what the standards, I would like to think that they're just honest with us. I think they are. We all have different opinions on what's musical and what's not musical, and or yeah, what's less or more musical, if you like. But I suppose if there is a short window to prepare for the season, it may force us all to just accept that, right, okay, I can't fix that right now. That's going to take more time. So let's try and compensate for this in other ways. And I mean, in an ideal world, you would want great music and great technique and precision all around, you know. But I guess there's some things that just take time to develop and to settle. So I don't know if it would cause me to think more musically. I would, in my mind, I try to think musically all the time. It maybe doesn't always come off that way, but that's certainly what I aim to do. I don't know if I can try to be more musical. I think it's something in my mind I'm doing. I'm being.
Yeah, sure. It's I guess maybe it's from like what are competing pipe bands all about. You know, it's the definition of what excellence is, and maybe it's a different attitude. Or maybe it's the same attitude, or whatever attitude it is from the judges who obviously control the result. Eric, any thoughts about that? Kind of.
Yeah, a little bit. I guess I think a lot of it would have to do. It'll be a personal thing. The same way that the way that we all react to this pandemic has been different from different people. Judges will be the same, just like the rest of us. And some judges will come back to it probably and feel like, okay, we're back to competing, and so this is always my expectation and what I'm looking for as a judge, and that's just how they handle, you know, their thought process on it. And others might feel, based on their experiences of the last year or so, that they've got a different outlook. Just like all of us, you know, some of us might be keen to get back and not worry as much about execution, and others, you know, we struggle to let that go. So I think it'll be very personal.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. Why don't we wrap up this part, and the next part we'll look at, you know, maybe further ahead and what your thoughts are around that. Stay tuned.